It was mid-March, I think, when I first bought Factorio. When was that again? I said this last time. It was March 15th. Exactly. That was the day that I bought Factorio. Alright, so that's optical sets. I can shove these out onto the thing. Whole 0.5 per second. We don't need that much. Or we don't need a lot. We need some, but not a ton. Um yeah, I'll do this way. Was it worth it? Gee. Um I've played it for 1,643 hours since March 15th. I wonder what the answer to that question is. I wonder. Truly. Was it worth it? Was it worth spending $30? Alright, and this is just going to be one vent. I'm going to have inserters on the other side. That's where the primary power is going to be. Yeah, so it was around 0.17. So when I first bought Factorio, the stable build was still 0.16. I started a map on 0.16, but I didn't finish it by the time I realized that 0.17 was an available beta and significantly better than 0.16, so really my experience with the game has generally speaking just been from 0.17 onward. Very, very brief period at the start of the first playthrough that I did, which wasn't even a full playthrough of vanilla. So really, I think I've played through vanilla 0.17 twice. I said this in the previous stream on Sunday as well. I've played through 0.17 vanilla twice. I've played through an ABX, Bob's Angels, and Space Extension twice. Once was on stream. And this is my second full playthrough of Pyanodon's mods. At least that's the hope, right? Is that it will be the second full playthrough of Pyanodon's mods. I have not completed any other playthroughs. In 1,643 hours. I have not completed any other playthroughs. I have started many. I have not completed as many. I have dabbled in quite a few different setups, including things like C-Block, things like, things like Omnimatter. I've tried, really hated it, by the way. Just point of reference, really did not like the Omni series of stuff. Partly because I've not actually been that... I wasn't that keen on the Angels initial ore processing stuff in the early game. I thought it was too slow and too much of a pain in the rear end logistically in the early game. And Omnimatter just takes that up to like 20. And I was like, nah, this is not fun for me. Combine that with the fact that it's just really slow as well. And it says, it actually does say so for Omnimatter. You get warned beforehand with Omnimatter that it's a slow start, and that's like that is the theme of Factorio modding. The current state of Factorio modding is the base game is too slow. Let's make it even slower, when the opposite is true. The base game is too slow in the early game. Why in the world would you want to make it an even worse experience than what it currently is? Like, that makes no sense to me. Why make something that's slow and boring even more slow and boring? For reference, I really don't like Industrial Revolution as well, for that very reason. It's just too slow. Haven't played that much of the Die World overhaul as well to get a good idea there. But it does also seem to be yet another one of those things where it's, again, really slow. It's not the text in Omnimatter that's the problem. It's all of the buildings and the logistics and the requirements for building the buildings that make it slow. You spent the worst possible thing that you can do is make a player wait for things to happen. That is the number one sin that most mod makers for Factorio commit in the early game, is you are forced to sit and wait for resources, or you are forced to sit and wait for handcrafting speed. And that is the problem. That is the biggest problem that I have with most Factorio overhauls, and what makes them incredibly boring to me. Pyanodon's is one of the least egregious. It is not as egregious because there is always something that you must be doing. The amount of time that you are spent waiting specifically for resources in the burner phase of the game is not that high because you need to hunt for wood. That's the thing. If you are actively chopping down trees for wood, you are at least doing something. You are mining for wood. You are gathering a resource manually. That is fine. It's when you have to sit and wait for handcrafting, and when you have to sit and wait for iron to accrue, and sit and wait for copper to accrue, and all that other stuff, that's when Pyanodon's is boring, is the initial phases of the game. After the burner phase, when you're needing to make literal hundreds of buildings, like the initial building of advanced foundries is really slow. The initial building of advanced foundries is really slow because you are basically just forced to wait for iron and steel. It's the steel, really, that you're waiting for. You have to sit and wait for steel to build your advanced foundries. As you get advanced foundries, the process speeds up because you're producing more iron through hot air processing of your iron to make the advanced foundries faster and faster and faster. That's fine. It's just that the initial costs of the buildings is really high. So yeah, that's the point there. Pyanodon's does have that weakness of being a bit slow in the early game, but it has more things to do. It compensates in other ways by having more things to do. And you can continue to plan out your base while waiting on the resources for the advanced foundries, because you're at a stage at that point where you need to do that level of planning. It's just a lot of times the burner phase stuff that gets added in a lot of these other mod sets, it's really boring. Why do you think angels and bobs are so popular? Right? It's because they are well paced by comparison to all of the other overhauls that exist. Angels and bobs are well paced by comparison to everything else. All right, I need the actual stuff to happen now. I need things to happen, which means feeding in the soil here. Yes, Pyanodon absolutely knows the weakness of the early game. He absolutely knows that the slowness early on is a bit of a problem, to which I constantly do say it's not as bad as the other mods that exist. So at least you can take solace in that. Is one enough? Hell no, one is not enough. Two is probably better on each of these. Ah, yes, you use that mining drones mod. Yeah, I've been tempted. I have it in my mod set. It's just not enabled right now. This is making 15 per second, isn't it? Across 4, so I need to do that. That is what I need to do. This puts both lanes evenly. So the mining drones, the way that works is you place down a depot, you build, you get mining drones, you build the drones, put them into the depot, and they go out. They're copies of you that are picking the ore, and if a resource needs a fluid, you shove the fluid into the depot. You can add like a lot of drones into a single depot over time, and there's techs to upgrade the mining speed, etc. on it, and they can mine a very large area in front of the depot. So they can be handy. They can overcome the speed limitations of mining drills. Just put a row of depots with thousands of the miners, and you can mine out a patch pretty quick. Pretty quick that way. Even with some relatively absurd numbers. How do I want to actually route this? A lot of mods are cheats. Like, a lot of... what do you think another name is for quality of life? Like, every single quality of life mod is a cheat. In some way. Can be considered a cheat. Because it makes the game easier. Anything that makes the game easier can be considered a cheat. It's like, that's what quality of life mods are. They are literally cheats. By another name. Alright, let me get the inserters going here. I'll set this up, and then it's actually time to take a break. It will actually be that time for break time. I can't believe it. It's already break time. Yeah, just right underneath each one. Yeah. That's what we're doing. Alright, say hello to Relesia! The very first of the Relesia being produced here. Now, the Relesia, it needs to be used for two things. It needs to be used for Ulrich, as well as Ulrich for bone meal, as well as for the actual seeds themselves, and those get fed into a biological sample. So I will set up Ulrich as well as the Relesia seeds right next to each other to keep this line relatively short, and then I need to put a destructive distillation column down to get some rich clay to do the ground samples, and then we are basically ready to just have green science. But it is now the halfway mark for the stream, so I will be taking a brief break of about 3 minutes or so, and I will be back shortly. And I have returned. Thank you for the follow that I saw as soon as I go over to the break screen. Follow notification. So thank you for that. I just looked at my emails and saw Amazon is like, hey, there's going to be a delay again to this light novel that you've been waiting on since mid-December. Rising of the Shield Hero, Volume 15. At least I think it's 15. Release in mid-December. Hasn't actually been shipped yet. I'm really hating that publisher, by the way. One Piece Books. Spelled P-E-A-C-E. One Piece Books. They delayed the previous volume by months due to a QA issue. Due to an apparent quality issue with the translation, they said that they were going to have it done again, and then what I actually get is another. It was still not a good translation when they eventually released it. So it's like, really? And then this volume, it's like, oh hey, we're releasing it. We're gonna say nothing, and then it's not actually shipping. Oh boy, yeah. All right, it's apparently released on digital. It's digitally released, but I started the series with physical before I started buying light novels on digital. So that's just one of the series that I follow, that I still follow, that is a physical series that I follow. There aren't many of those left, to be honest, between Rising of the Shield Hero, Overlord, and No Game, No Life, and Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. Those are like the main ones off the top of my head that I get on physical copy rather than digital. Anyway, Ulrich. That is what we're doing right now. Ulrich's. The it is time to kill some horses. Yeah, it is time to kill some horses. Those poor horses. They feed exclusively on flowers. Those poor defenseless animals. Let's kill them for their bone meal. Yeah, sounds like a plan. If you don't like hurting animals, there is a mod for Pyanodons called Pie Veganism, done by Tirisev. Yeah, it really made me wonder what the bad translation was like. It's like, gee, if this is this bad, what was it like before for them to delay the publication? It was bad too, because it seemed like they had already begun printing of that bad version and had to scrap it because it was just a bad translation. But yeah. Anyway, so I need those, and I need the Relesia seeds. Now, the Relesia seeds are just assembling machine for the seeds, I think. Yeah, just that for the seeds. And then the sample is the seeds plus bone meal. Yeah, biological sample. 1.5. I'm actually going to take a look at rates here. The sample 1... Yeah, this isn't going to be built to ratio. Like, hell no. How much red science do I have? I have, 0.75. Alright. So, let's do this. Let's target this, at least. We shall see how much of a, bad idea this is. That's what we shall do. We shall see just how much of a bad idea doing all of this is. How much do I need to scale up to get 0.6 biological samples, or shall we say 0.5 biological samples? It's not that bad. Excuse me. There we go. 3. Less than 3. Less than 2. 5. I think I need a few more Ulrich corrals. Yeah. Triple? 15? 15, I think. Yeah. So... Let's see. 3 per second, huh? Less than 3 per second. That'll be... Okay, so... 3... 5? 5 flowers. 5 flowers. I'm actually pretty close on the flowers. I'm actually pretty close already on the flowers. Ooh, that's gonna be the problem. Another 5. Yes, the whistling horses. Another 5. Glass? Glass. Oh, soil. Stream has been live, yes, for an hour and 42 minutes. We are in the second half of our stream for the day. The break is the exact halfway mark. I set an alarm on my phone and I keep it like I keep my phone under my leg so that when it goes off and it starts vibrating, I know immediately that that's what it's doing. 4. This is not final positioning, by the way. This is just getting an idea of numbers. Yeah. Now, of course, I could just be like, hey, Hellmod, tell me what I need. Output would be 0.75. Yep, 0.75. So we're looking at these buildings, 2 of these buildings. Yes, that's how I am reminded these days of when to do my break. It's just I have an alarm on the phone and have it start vibrating right at the exact time that is the halfway mark. So if I set all this to these buildings, that will give me the good idea of what the counts are. So 12. 12 is the answer for Ulrich in total. That's good to know. What is the answer for flowers? Did I not do flowers? I did not do flowers. Huh. Oh, apparently it's 1.3 on the rubber. So we've got a slight issue with the rubber. That's so 2 of these is just that's not going to happen. All right. It's not going to be fully fed, and if it's not going to be fully fed, I may as well not build it to be 2 to begin with. So that's fine. That's fine. That cuts it in half basically. Point yeah, that 0.5. Wait, what? Yeah, 0.25. 0.25, and that's 1 to 1, and 0.25, yeah, that's fine. That will work. I may eventually put a second green science building, but here's the thing, as I say quite often. You don't need more than 1 building of the green science. Unless you're going to be like me and building a base where I'm trying to do 1 per second of every science at minimum once I transition into Rails. By the time that really becomes a thing, that's going to be way past green science. This green science, if I can even feed this fully, that's going to be an accomplishment in and of itself to make sure that this is actually being fed. This 1 building is fed fully. And even at 0.38 per second, like, we're gonna just chew through all these green science techs. And once you have all of the green science techs, like, there's gonna be a lot of time before we get into Circuit 2s. Circuit 2s is gonna take a long time to get into blue science. So the amount of time it's gonna take to get to blue science, like, this is trivial. To have just the 1. We're going to be far and beyond the amount that we need to get all the techs, because there's just going to be that much time. Alright, feed me these. Pretty sure I have enough a sufficient quantity of these things. Yeah, that's better. That's a better answer. Yeah, that's fine. That will work. One, two. That will be those samples. So that will be biological samples. Now I need ground samples. Ground samples are made out of rich clay and soil. How does one get rich clay? And how many ground samples do I need? It's... Alright. Half of 0.75. 0.3-ish. 375? Yeah, that's... I thought. Alright. Okay, that means the ground sample... One building... No, that's not the ground sample. That's the biological sample. Where's the ground sample? Ground sample. That's the one. Ground sample with these. One. Glorious. One! I like one. One is a good value. One. And then 0.5 on the rich clay, that's fine, and then 1 on the soil. Alright. Cool. 1 on the soil. Well, that's this. Hi. So I heard you like soil. And then, where's my... Why do I not have a destructive distillation column? I need one of those. Hi, DDC. Nice to see you. I need to move some stuff. These things need moving a little bit. Could you shift out of the way, please? Just a little bit. Just a smidge. Rich clay. So, rich clay is going to consume tar, which is ever so slightly unfortunate. And it's going to produce clay, and then flue gas, carbon dioxide, and, hey, our good friend aromatics. Now, what is the spacing? This is always the question. Oh, God. Oh, my. Okay, let's expand this again. Hey, remember how we expanded this earlier? Yeah, we get to do that again. But this time I'm just going to expand the, tar. Just going to expand the tar. And because I need this to constantly move, I'm not going to attach the aromatics yet. I'm not going to attach the aromatics yet. I will once I get access to valves. I will definitely do this after I get access to valves, but until then, the answer is no. So, is this a good line? It is not, but because it's tar, I don't have to actually worry about it. By very nature of being the first item on the line, the actual alignment doesn't even matter. Because everything else is going to be like so. Going down. That's what all the others are going to be. It's just fortunate that that I chose tar to be the first item on the line. Very, very fortunate. Now, you make a ton of flue gas. I need more gas vents. I need gas vents. Yeah, that'd be a great idea. Let's make some gas vents. Just a few. Just a few. How many gas vents are you gonna need? So a gas vent vents 60 items per second. So it's one of each of these for the carbon dioxide and the aromatics, and then 4 for the flue gas. Six times 4 is 24, so that's 240 that can vent. Versus 180, so I need... That's if it runs at full capacity, which it's not. Just for reference, I don't need 4 per second. I need half of 1 per second. So yeah, that's going to be glorious.